Standing outside Marion City Hall. This is P9 coming at you guys from another vlog. And I am here in Marion, Alabama. We're about to walk around Marion and get history and the overall vibes and the scenery of the city. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, again, this is Marion City Hall. This is its current City Hall. We'll see the old City Hall a little later on in the vlog. But as you can see right here, outside of City Hall, they even have a marker, which is pretty cool. They have the marker plastered outside City Hall with some facts about Marion. It is the seat of Perry County, has a population of 4,457 residents, founded by Anderson West in 1822, and it's the home of Judson College and Marion Military Institute. Now, Judson College is no longer open, but Marion Military Institute is open still. And Marion was actually named in honor of Mr. Francis Marion, who was a hero and military officer in the Revolutionary War that took place in America. And he also partook in the French and Indian War. And they called Francis Marion the Swamp Fox. So that was his nickname. That is who Marion is named after. And we outside the Douglas J. Moore complex, which houses the fire department of Marion. And right here is an engraving of Mr. Douglas J. Moore, who was the councilman and mayor of Marion. He was the mayor for 15 years from 1970 to 1985 and served as a councilman before his mayoral tenure from 1960 to 1970. So this complex is named after Douglas J. Moore. And you have the Marion Fire Department right here. And they even have this little Dalmatian right here with the fire hat. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But we're standing right across from the Perry County Courthouse. We'll get a little closer up there after a while. But I also want to check out this mailbox. Has some drawings on it. And it says, oh, the places you'll go, Dr. Seuss. So it has the Dr. Seuss drawings on it. Dr. Seuss style drawings, pretty cool. But here you got the groundskeepers over there tending to the Marion County Courthouse law, or the Perry County Courthouse lawn. And here's a historic building right here. You have K&D Wireless right there, K&D Wireless, and you also have a U-Haul, or at least what used to be occupied by U-Haul Rentals. And this is the Perry County Herald, which is the historic publication of Marion County and Perry County as a whole. And you have an image right there of Jimmie Lee Jackson, who we covered in the opening, who was unfortunately taken away from us in 1965 by a police officer. Let me go over here. I'm gonna go back down that way after a while. But this is Main Street. This is Benny's Coffee Cafe, John 3:16. They have a Main Street, Alabama designated district sign right there. And check this out. They have this painting right here. It's pretty cool. And they have this stack of images that talks about Marion, or that illustrates some images of Marion. It's pretty cool. Nice artwork right there. And check this out. This image of this woman balancing this basket on her head. We talk about determination. She was one of the many black residents who endured Montgomery's bus boycott in 1955 by walking to their jobs or to do errands. Many women carried groceries and packages this way. Wow, that is some type of dedication and determination, because that had to be pretty tough. But they had to do what they had to do. And back in the day, this was lean back fashions back during the heyday of Marion, as far as the business operations are concerned. And this used to be what was called Childs and Sons Bakery. It opened in 1890 and operated businesses for over 50 years, servicing Perry County for 5 generations. And here was the proprietor of the bakery, Mr. Stephen Amzie Childs Sr. And yep, bread is your best food. Eat more of it, said the sign in front of Childs Bakery. And the image is kind of faded, but that's what Childs Bakery looked like back in the day. So you had Childs, John Childs, Stephen M.Z. Childs, Norman Childs, Stephen A. Childs Jr., and Nathan Childs Sr., who are all part of the Childs family who ran this bakery. So this is the storefront right over here, as you can see. And this is a flower shop right here. It's called Yana's Flowers and Gifts. It also serves herbs and vitamins and flowers for all occasions, and herbs and vitamins for all the health concerns. So it's a really nice flower shop over here. Wow, so this is like, this looks like it's a museum that has like a display of a bunch of history pertaining to Marion. You see right there, Jimmie Lee Jackson up front. And that's Miss Lincoln High right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. She was Miss Lincoln High back in the day. I guess that's the local high school pageant. So yeah. You have the Turner Law Firm right here. And you have Muckles Ridge Antique Market, which I forgot to mention. Marion was founded in 1822, but its original name before it was renamed Marion was Muckle Ridge. So it was briefly called Muckle Ridge before it became Marion. FYI. And you see right over here, you have the print shop, and they also have a coffee shop. I'm going to walk across over here real quick. They have a coffee shop called A Cup of Joy, as you can see. And they have the little swinging man out here. Pretty cool. So they got a local coffee shop downtown. That's nice. Sits right next to the historic print shop. Occupies the same building. And you have what's called a bookstore called As Time Goes By. So it's a nostalgic bookstore. And check this out. They have an event right here called The Poetic Plug Live Versus Show, a live versus show with the host of Joy. It's on July 24th, 2026. So it looks like a little spoken word poetry slam that's coming up on July 24th. One of the local upcoming events here in Marion. So it's across the street from where we just came from. So I like how they had the history of the bakery. That's pretty cool. They displayed the history of those buildings and what used to occupy the buildings. Yes, Marion is located in the Alabama Black Belt. So it's called the Black Belt not because of the demographics, even though the large amount of the demographics of the Black Belt region of Alabama are blacks. It's not called the Black Belt for that reason. It's called the Black Belt due to the agricultural black soils, fertile black soils of the region, which lends its way to being one of the most important agricultural, probably the most agricultural district within the state of Alabama, for sure. So this is Washington Street down this way. Let me go over this way. It's another historic building we're going to take a look at. And just like a little children's drawing, it says "Welcome to Marion." It's pretty nice. And you also have a drawing across the street. It looks like it has like a puzzle piece design to it over there. Goes Perry County Courthouse, the front of it. But this building right here, in its heyday, Marion's heyday, was once a hotel. Bunch of commercial space that's available right now. Vacant commercial spaces. And this building right here that says Wilborn Brothers is a landmark building. The business was actually opened back in 1890 when the Wilborn Brothers moved to Marion and set up shop where they sold agricultural equipment, which was highly in demand in this region, giving the Black Belt's historical importance as it regards to agricultural and farming. So they had the suppliers right here, the Wilborn Brothers. And there was an article actually from 1947 Marion Times Standard, where the merchant A. Perry Wilborn formed a business with his brother M.H. Wilborn in 1903. So it was really 1903 when they formed this business. And part of that heritage, that Wilborn heritage, as you can see now, this building is occupied by the Marion Art Center. But yeah, it was originally the Wilborn Brothers farming supply store. So this looks like, I don't know, this says Smith's. So this might have been at one time a mercantile business. And be grateful, be bold, embrace discomfort, and endure towards worthy progress. Marion, Alabama, very inspirational key. Like a message right there. So it looks like that's like a community center now. What's this? Oh, the College City Drug Store. So this is, it looks like a drugstore. It also has some clothing in it and some American souvenir type stuff in there. Looks pretty cool. It's called the College City Drug Store, but it looks like they're more than just like a pharmacy. They sell like an array of items. And by the way, Marion is nicknamed College City, College City, because of its historical significance as it pertains to having two colleges, Judson and Marion Military, which is still open to this day, but Judson's closed. And this looks like some storefront called, can't make out what it is, but it looks like it's in an old warehouse building. You see the red and green awning right here. And if you go to the side of this building, it was actually used to be a hardware and general merchandise store. And it has the Wrigley Spearmint, like drawing or mural on the side of the building. So it was promoting the spearmint gum. So this is a general merch store back in the day. Hendrix Dry Goods to be exact. Okay. And now this mural was painted back in 1913, as you can see, circa 1913. But as you can see right here, it was restored in 2006 by Richard and John Neely and sponsored by the Perry County Historical Society and College City Drugs. So shout out to them for their community work and restoring that really historical art piece. Go across over here to this mural. Looks like a bunch of folks just playing a bunch of musical instruments, and it has a bunch of names on here. AC, and it's a whole bunch of names. Sunflowers, churches, birds, people playing the musical instruments, drums, flutes, you name it. They even have the shepherd right there with his goat with a basket of flowers and a whole bunch of names right here. These potentially could be, I don't know if these are all of the individuals who played a part in painting this mural. Not quite sure, but it's really nice mural. You see the tree, the yellow tree with all the branches. Really colorful artwork as you see the multitude of individuals playing the musical instruments, and you see the church building right there. Really nice. Really nice. Let's go down this way.
Good to see you. Have a good morning.
Curtly. Amelia Ridge's Furniture and Appliances. Okay. It's a cleaners also, in addition to being a furniture and appliance store. And look, check this out. This sculpture right here with the American flag vest on. That's pretty dope. Oh man, that's pretty cool. And this looks like some type of banquet hall or something. I don't know what this is. It looks like a ballroom. Or perhaps even a restaurant. One of the two. It looks like somewhere where they have like events and stuff. Pretty spacious building. Right across from this building right here, which was the Longworth and Company. This building, I'm not quite sure what this is. But again, it looks like a rec center or of some sort. You have Lottie's restaurant right here. So it's a local spot called Lottie's. Okay. I guess they serve like barbecue or soul food, I'm assuming. A Sherika Hurd Law Office. And it looks like there's an abandoned section of this building. Interesting. You have Marion Methodist Church across the street right there. This nice historical 2-story home with the wraparound porch and a huge tree right here. Standing outside, this is the Marion Perry County Library, public library. As you can see, 4 Greek columns, and And this building looks relatively modern compared to many of the other buildings downtown. This actually was built in 1974. Again, it's the Perry County Library. So it's good they have the local library down here. And they even have a little seating area right outside the library. It too looks like a relatively modern structure. Now that building across the street, the W.H. Mason, was built in 1913. Again, you have what looks like a furniture or like a furniture store right here. I believe it's the Longworth and Company. An antique shop right here. Wonder what this building is right here. It's called the Vault. It sounds like it might have been at one point in time a bank. Hence the name Vault. It looks like it's structured like a bank. And sure enough, lo and behold, you have the night deposit box right here. So it definitely was a bank. And we're going to get over there to the Perry County Courthouse here soon enough. Happy Nails. Oh, they got the old Tom Thumb food store mat here right there sitting outside this. So this must have been a grocery store back in the day. And you have the Chatino's Mexican Grill. Okay, they got a Mexican grill right here downtown. All right, cool, cool. And you have this house right here. It looks like it's a historical landmark. Not sure what it is. It's covered in kudzu and a bunch of vegetation around it. I'm approaching Pickens Street. Right here on historic Pickens Street here in Marion, outside the James Hood Detention Facility, a modern detention facility here in Marion. Here pretty soon we're gonna get over to the old jail of Marion, Perry County. And you have right here, Albert Turner Senior Courthouse Annex building. So this building, Albert Turner Senior Courthouse Annex, was named after this gentleman right here, Mr. Albert Turner Sr., who was a pioneer freedom fighter, champion of voting rights, bold advocate for the poor and oppressed. And this was presented by the SCLC, Women Inc., Women's Organization Movement for Equality Now. And the Evelyn G. Lowry was the founder and chair. And this sculpture was put together in 2001. So shout out to the women's organization for putting together that monument. And this one right here is dedicated honoring Mr. Reverend James Orange, who was jailed as a leader in the struggle for voting rights in Perry County in 1965. It has the quote, "Hey leader," and that's him right there, you know, got the mustache, the glasses, thick frames. And this too was presented by the same SCLC Women Incorporated organization. And it sits right outside this fence, which was the old Perry County Jail, 2 levels, which is now a fallout shelter in a condemned building. And it sits, of course, it sits over here by this, in front of this barbed wire fence. But this is a really faded monument right here, or marker, if you will. And it tells you that civil rights leader Reverend James Orange, we just saw, was arrested on February 18th, 1965, and taken to the Perry County Jail across the street in front of you. Orange, a project coordinator for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, was in charge of expanding voting rights protests from Selma to Perry County, and the growing support for the movement incensed local rights, who held strategy meetings on February 17th, 1965, to address the problem. A few whites wanted to negotiate with blacks, but wanted mostly vengeance, and the next morning, Orange and dozens of blacks were arrested and marched to the Perry County Jail. And a mass meeting was held at Zion Chapel Methodist Church that evening, and those attending planned a short walk to the jail to kneel in support of the incarcerated protesters, but their peaceful vigil ended in violence and the fatal wounding of Jimmie Lee Jackson. And yeah, see, you can't really see the images. It's so faded out. And yeah, it almost looked like it was either it just got destroyed by weather or somebody came and defaced it. I'm not sure, but yeah, right outside of here, that's where a lot of protests and inmates were brought to in protest and in the fight for the rights and of voting for the marginalized. Let's continue down Pickens Street. And we have the Melvin Miller funeral service right here. Melvin Miller Funeral Home. That was the front of Perry County Courthouse. Has the 6 columns right there. The Marion, Alabama Postal Service right here, post office. Conveniently located right here downtown. Oh, wow. Right outside of Zion Church right here. Herbert Allen, current pastor. But check this out. They have what's called a Civil Rights Freedom of Wall of Perry County, Alabama, presented by the SCLC Women, Inc. So for a couple of years straight, the SCLC Women, Inc., chaired by Evelyn G. Lowry, were building memorials and monuments honoring the freedom fighters and the civil rights activists. You see Jimmie Lee Jackson's name right here, a bunch of other Jacksons and a bunch of other individuals, the Averys, the Bradleys, the Bryants, so many of them, Childs, Carters. And, you know, this is just a list of names of those who were freedom fighters right here in Perry County. It was a lot of them. It was a whole lot of them. So special shout out and salute to those who fought for voting rights. Here's a marker. This is more, this one we can see more better. This is marchers protesting for the right to vote in front of Perry County Courthouse. This was February of '65. And this is the, after the mourners gathered to honor and pay their respects around the casket of Jimmie Lee Jackson. Very sad image to look at. Or all these images really are sad to look at. And this is just them in March, you know, marching in support of James Orange. So essentially, it just tells you the same story that happened with James Orange. Again, this was rebuilt by U.W. Brown, this church right here. the Zion Church in 1926. It's really nicely preserved and preserved building, as you can see. I wanted to come over here and get this particular image of Jimmie Lee Jackson, who gave his life in the struggle to the right to vote, February 1965, again presented by the SCLC Women's Inc. Movement. And this was presented back in 1991. And look, Joseph E. Lowery was president of the SCLC back then. Yeah, so this is honor of Jimmie Lee Jackson. And I think it's worth mentioning too, by the way, the officer who shot Jimmie Lee Jackson, he actually, confessed to it 40 years later. So we're talking 2005 is when he confessed. He was eventually convicted of manslaughter in Jimmie Lee Jackson 40 something years after the fact. But it's just goes to show you, like he only served 6 months for it, and he was able to live for 40 years with got away with it, which is crazy. But it was crazy, but it was common, back, during that time frame, And I also think it's worth mentioning that he, the officer, ended up living a really big life of crime. So basically he was facilitating a drug trafficking ring, partook in a drug trafficking ring and all that. This was years after the Jimmie Lee Jackson was taken from us by that officer. So yeah, it's crazy. His name was James Bernard Fowler, by the way. It's the officer's name. But yeah, check out this really cool mural. It has #1 Marion, and it just has a tree with a bunch of roots and images and drawings and illustrations of the historical buildings around the city of Marion. So this is really nice. Let me make sure I get the artist's name. I want to say that's Alexis Campbell and Allie Thomason. I think I'm reading that right. It's Alexis Campbell and Allie Thomason. Shouts out to the both of them for putting together this really beautiful mural illustrating the sights of Marion, Alabama, with the trees and the roots. And here's the exterior of the Perry County Courthouse, a closer up view of it, which was constructed between 1854 and 1856. So prior to the Civil War. And it was designed in the Greek Revival style by New England architect Benjamin F. Parsons. And it was renovated in 1954, almost a century after it was constructed. And it added new wings. So the wings you see on the side right here, those were added in 1954. So originally it was just this structure right here. So yeah, nice artwork, nice architectural design by Mr. Parsons. Which brings us to the continuation of what was in the intro of Jackson's death, which led to the Bloody Sunday March. A group of protesters pursued by troopers ran behind Zion Church into Max Cafe. Kager Lee, 82, was clubbed to the floor, along with daughter Viola Jackson, whose son Jimmie Lee was shot in the stomach while trying to help. He died 8 days later, and strategist James Bevel suggested a procession to Montgomery to confront Governor George Wallace. Some 600 marchers were routed by club-swinging lawmen at the Edmund Pettus Bridge on March 7th for the Bloody Sunday March. An attempt on March 9th was canceled, and on March 21st, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. led several thousand marchers to Montgomery. they reached the state capitol in 4 days. Their number swollen to 25,000. In 2005, retired Trooper James Bonard Fowler told the Anniston Star that he shot Jackson. In 2010, District Attorney Michael Jackson obtained a guilty plea to manslaughter from Fowler, then 77. Fowler served 5 months before being released for health reasons. Jimmie Lee Jackson's tragic story was featured in the 2015 film Selma, which is a great film, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it. But yeah, you guys, I did mention earlier about Mr. Fowler. He did eventually get convicted for the manslaughter. So he served some time for it, but you know, this was much later in his life. He was already in his 70s and with failing health. And yeah, but that goes to show you the determination of these freedom fighters back then. I mean, they was willing to march all the way from Selma to Montgomery in honor of Jimmie Lee Jackson, in honor to promote change and everything like that. I mean, think about it. This generation has no excuse for any type of laziness because, you know, those individuals, that generation was very persistent and they marched. I mean, you know, they marched for 4 days. That's some crazy determination right there. This honor that sits over here by the courthouse is in honor of Nicola Marcia, who designed the Stars and Bars first official flag adopted by the Confederate States of America. So that's in honor of Nicola Marcia. Right over here by the courthouse, in front of the courthouse. And you have this monument right here, time capsule, Marion Bicentennial Commission. This is in honor of all the Perry County veterans of all the wars. But yeah, that does it for Marion's downtown, but I'm gonna get a little bit more footage, so stay tuned. Look at these colorful flowers. Welcome to Marion. And the message, bloom where you're planted. This definitely should apply to everyone's life. Bloom where you're planted, absolutely. And this is the artist right here. Shout out to Heather and Melissa. Heather and Melissa did this really nice mural over here. Continuing down Washington Street, at this corner of Washington and Early Street, you have the Marion Community Bank right there, and you have Nelson's Barbershop right there. So it's a historic barbershop right over across the street. But we're over here really by the Salome Baptist Church, which was established in 1822. As you can see, historical building. You have the 2 columns right there and the steeple up top. And this is a very historical building that's on the National Register of Historic Places. And Salome was Alabama's most influential and important Baptist congregation and one of the strongest denominational centers in the South during the mid-19th century. And the pastor and laymen were leaders in the organization of the Alabama Baptist State Convention in 1823, the founding of Judson College in 1838, and Howard College in 1841, and the Alabama Baptist State Paper, which had begun here in 1843. Now, the Alabama resolutions, which greatly influenced the founding of the Southern Baptist Convention, was passed here at Salome in 1844, and the Home Mission Board of the SBC was founded here in 1845, where its offices remained until 1882. Now, during the mid-19th century, the Alabama Baptist Convention met at Salome every other year. And the original portion of the church was a good example of the temple from Greek Revival architecture and was built 1848 to 1849 and is a third building occupied by its congregation. And it was added to the Register of Historic Places in 1982. Over here outside of the Reverie, built in 1858. So this is an example of the Reverie Mansion, Greek Revival style mansion. And Joseph Thomas Whitsitt, a planter and railroad investor, bought the property in 1858, but he was forced to sell it for $4,000, which was a whole lot of money back in the 1800s. He sold it to Edward Kenworthy Carlisle, and he was a Confederate war soldier and wealthy cotton broiler of Kenworthy Hall, which is another historic building in Marion. And it was sold to David Scott in 1863. So basically, it had a series of owners throughout its history. And of course, it's one of those plantation houses. And yeah, you can't see much of it. It's fenced off and has this huge tree in front of it. But this is the property of the mansion. Again, it's called the Reverie. And it sits behind this iron fence, this wrought iron fence right here on Lafayette Street in Marion, Alabama.